May the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer, and it is in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect today's or tonight's message. Aman. Bakwata, Barakalat, Shem Yahweh, Anai Kofi, the servants of Christ, Shalom. Come on in, everybody. Give me 1 second, sorry. I just realized I need to get something together. All right, let me see if this worked. Hopefully, y'all are doing well this evening. YouTube probably is going to be a little grainy this evening. That's all right. Hopefully, y'all are doing well. Come on in. Come on in. Excited to be before you all one more again. Hopefully, you had a great day. For those of you who are celebrating the worldly holy day, hopefully, you're safe. Those others of us, hopefully, you're enjoying your day. And if you're going by the Israelite calendar, Shalom to you. Otherwise, happy Thursday to you. I know some of you are doing the Thanksgiving stuff if you celebrate that. Hopefully you're doing well with your celebration or whatever it is that you're doing. Hopefully you're just doing well in general. How about that? We give all honor and praise once again to the Most High. We give all praise and honor to Him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A-N-D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. Won't be before you all too long. Kind of wanted to have a little discussion, trying to see if I can set this up correctly. Okay. So wanted to share with you guys something tonight. And before we get started, let's go ahead and say hello to everybody once again, to SOC, to the moderators, to the ministerial staff, a bow down to those who are coming on for the first time. And hopefully this is one time of many. Prayerfully you continue to join us. We're excited and grateful to be in front of you one more again. Hello to everybody. How you doing? Joy, Carla, Minister Stephen, Minister Jelani, Ganan Yashadallah, Romac, Renee, Sister Knight, if I didn't say so already, Big Brother Thomas, if I didn't say so already, everybody who's on all the platforms, we appreciate you. If you're watching this live, watching this later on, we appreciate you so very much. How you doing? Yisrael, Yehudach, how you guys doing? Today, and hopefully this makes sense, I want to talk about the cup is poisoned. The cup is poisoned. Remember, there's a scripture, if it be your will, Father, let this cup pass from me, right? Yahashua, he had to take a taste from the cup. He had to drink of the cup. The cup was sin. He didn't want to do it, but he had to drink of sin so that you wouldn't have to drink of sin. The cup is poisoned. Matter of fact, give me a second. I'm all over the place. I'm missing some of my stuff. That's all right. We're going to just put, I don't know what's going on with my Bible. Maybe I've got my backup Bible in here. I most certainly do not. Okay, sorry about that. Well, we'll go ahead and just put our right hands in the air. Oh, there we go. I was about to say, I know I got the Bible in here somewhere. About to say. All right, if you want to put your device in your hand or whatever it is, repeat after me. Actually, we go Matthew chapter 26, verse 39. Matthew chapter 26 and verse 39. Once you have it, say amen. Say, I got it. Say, I'm with you. We're going to say our Bible pledge together. That's Matthew chapter 26, verse 39. How you doing, Sister Nadine? How you doing, Sister Monica? So once again, it's going to be Matthew chapter 26 and verse 39. And once you have the verse, if you want to say amen, say I got it, say I'm with you. If you're able to reference the word in some kind of way, feel free to, if you're able to stand for the reading of Yah's word. Of course, be safe whatever you're doing, right? And feel free to go ahead and put your hand or your device or your Bible in your right hand and just simply repeat after me, saying, this is my Bible, this is my sword, and this will I trust. For Yahushua is Lord. No sword of God shall ever be heard. For this is my Bible, and this is Yah's word. Atsham Yahweh, or in Yahweh's name, Aman. All right. We're going to read Matthew chapter 26, verse 39. I'm going to try and crouch. I can't really stand where I am right now, but I'll try to crouch, so at least I'm up with you. If you want to stand with us, hopefully you have it. Matthew chapter 26, verse 39, it reads as follows. It says, and he went a little farther. This is Yehoshua, right? And he went a little farther and fell on his face and prayed, saying, O Abba, O my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou will. We just read Matthew chapter 26, verse 39 in its entirety. May Yahweh have a blessing to those who read, hear, and do what is read in his most holy, righteous, Tabah, Savar, his word. Amen. If you're standing, you may be seated. Thank you for standing with us. We appreciate you. How you doing, MIT Jenny? Hello to everybody once again. How you doing? Springtime. Alrighty. So tonight we want to talk about the cup is poisoned. Now remember, Yehoshua, he's drinking of the cup for you, but he did not want to drink of the cup, right? Remember, he says, if there be your will, if there be any other way, let this cup be removed from me. Let me not have to drink of the cup of sin. Remember, he'll be on the cross and he'll say, I thirst. For the first time, he's drinking of sin. Sin separates us from the Most High, makes us dry, if you will, has us in a place. Hold on one second. Okay. So, thank you. So, he says, if it be thy will, if there be any other way, right, can you have this cup of sin removed, right? And it's important that we catch this because he did not want to drink of the cup of sin. He did it in spite of what he wanted, because he realized that regardless of whether he wanted to take on sin for you or not, that was what he's sent to do. He was obedient even until what we, using the word the Bible would say, even unto the death of the cross, the top. How you doing, Sister Dre? How you doing, King D252? Right? So he's obedient even to drink of the cup that he does not want to drink of, right? Because the cup is poisoned, right? Sin is in the cup. Sin poisons you, right? Matter of fact, sin allows death to have power. How you doing, Tiwanda? You remember death, what existed first? Being unalived, right? Or sin? Think about this now. Let's get to let's get to a point. Let's make sure we're in agreement here. What existed first? Death or sin? That's an interesting question, isn't it? Now, right? Especially, let's deal with it this way. As far as humanity is concerned. Hey, Shalom, how you doing, family? Uh, as far as humanity is concerned, what existed first? Death or being unalive or sin? So we got one that says sin. Anybody else? Okay, two say sin. Anybody else? What existed first for humankind? Death or sin? It's a very interesting question. I'm asking it for a specific way, right? Okay, watch this. Until we sinned, death never had power, right? However, death existed before sin. Death is a consequence of sin, but death was also created before sin. Because what did the Most High create sin? Just stay with me. We're gonna make this. We got to make this clear before we go into this cup being poison and the sin cup being full of sin. Right? How you doing, brother TJ? The Most High, did He create sin or did He create death? Right? Islamically, yes. Okay, that well, first of all, you know, may the blessings of the Most High be upon thee and your family. Secondly, Islamically, whatever, we're pointing to the same person, right? So before you put an Islam on it, before we put an Avda on it, Hebrew on it, before we're going to argue over Abraham as if we aren't brothers, right? Let's just deal with the actual stuff, right? Because now we're getting into some stuff that's not even what we're talking about, right? Watch this. The Most High creates death to separate you, right? To separate you if you in fact sin, right? But sin just means to fall short. The Most High cannot cause you to fall short. But if you fall short, you must be separated. I don't even know if what I'm saying is making sense. I'm trying. But before we get into this concept of the cup is poison, we have to first figure out what sin does. See, once again, death was created before anybody fell short. The Most High never falls short, but He gave you free will. So He created free will to try and do what He says or not. But He never created sin. If you sinned, right? He had something called death, which means that this body would no longer be covered. You were always naked, right? Remember we talked about this with Adam and Eve. When they ate of the fruit, they realized they were naked, but they were always naked the whole time. And what did they have to do? They had to have an offering created, right? They had to have something be sacrificed to cover them once they had fallen short, once they had sinned. But when they had never fallen short, they were always covered by the Most High. Once they decided they wanted to do things on their own on a human level, then they had to find something to cover their humanity, right? On their level, they had to find something that could be sacrificed instead of them to cover their sin, right? When they created sin, the Most High created an offering, right? But He never created sin. He created free will. So He created death as a way that if you sin, He can make sure He takes off this now tainted body that you can now take off corruptible and put on this glorified body, put on incorruptible. People want to say they glowed, this and that, or whatever. The Bible doesn't necessarily say that they glowed. Some people want to say when you get to heaven that maybe you're glowing and you have the glowing raiment and bright raiment and stuff like that. So if that's where people are going, we don't necessarily have anything that 100% validates that. We don't have anything that 100% invalidates it, to be honest. But for whatever reason, but the main thing is that your covering comes from Yah. We can say that with certainty. And as long as you're covered by Him in His will, right, by your own free will, if you decide to stay in His eternal grace, in His kaddis and His charisma and who He is, then you can go ahead. Well, some people say that they had to glow. That's why they didn't realize that they were naked. Sometimes they get that from the Bible saying that all the angels glow, that everybody who has raiment would be glowing. Yes, no, maybe so, right? There's nothing that tells us that Adam and Eve were glowing, right? But if somebody's trying to say that you'll be glowing in heaven eventually, and even though it doesn't say you'll always be glowing in heaven, but it talks about certain times when you be glowing, and even in your glowing, it says that the Most High, when He's in the center of Yahashadalam, the new Yahashadalam that's going to be in the midst of Shamayam Arat, or the middle of the new heaven and the new earth. Well, it says clear as day that this brightness of the Most High will put the sun to shame, which means that our glow ain't really gonna matter. Just like your glow doesn't really matter now, the kingdom of heaven's in you is what should glow, right? Because your righteousness or your glow is as filthy rags. But however we're gonna put that, right? Regardless, we know that Adam and Eve did not recognize their nakedness because they were covered. They were not clothed, but they were covered, right? You need clothing now because you have sinned. You were shaped in iniquity. And so now your sin makes you very aware of the fact that you are not covered. So we offer up nowadays. a sacrifice of praise or something like that. We offer up certain things. We offer up even animals still to this day. You cover your body, right? And something is sacrificed that you might be covered, right? This is how you move, this is how you live, because you being uncovered, especially when you sin, you don't want to be looked upon. You feel a certain way about it. You feel frustrated about it. You don't feel like yourself, right? How you doing, Frank? Did I say hello, Sister Iska? How you doing? If I didn't, is it Rock? I don't know if I'm saying Roctavia P. I don't know if that's correct or not. Thanks for being part of the community. Appreciate you. Right. So regardless of whether they were glowing, how you doing, Sister Gertrude, or not, we know that they were not covered. Right. When they sinned, it caused them to realize they were not covered. Right. And so death was created to help the person who's uncovered, right, at some point be able to have a glorified body or be covered again, without having to have a sacrifice all the time, right? Yahashva's sacrifice would be the ultimate sacrifice, that we would be able to have our garments, so to speak, dipped in, that we would be covered this time for eternity, that it would be dipped in his blood that was like scarlet, would come out in bright raiments, right? The covering of the Most High, a glorified body. Okay, so this is so sin is something that the Satan Hasatan, he had already sinned, right? He had lost his authority. That's why he has no name. Also, though, when you're talking about Adam and Eve, they had not sinned until they decided to listen to the serpent. Matter of fact, a lot of people don't peep this, but real talk, your first sin as humanity, whether you're talking about Ayazar or who you now would then you would later call wound man, and then that, and now you call Chava or Chavavach or Eve, um this person first, right? Her first mistake was to start thinking like the devil. See, a lot of people don't even catch this. You think that the first sin and the only sin was eating of the tree. That wasn't the first sin. There was already grace extended, so to speak, right? Mercy, really, because grace is just who the Most High is. But there was already mercy that was extended. Was there not? Right? It says that she noticed the tree and thought that it was great for eating. She has to go to the tree. She has to pluck the fruit of the tree. She has to smell it. She has to put it in her mouth. She has to taste it. She has to swallow it. Has to go down her esophagus. It has to sit in her stomach. It says that she realized that it was all right and nothing had happened. Then she has to offer it to Adam. Then when Adam eats of it, both. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens, that's sin, before we get to the eating of it. It wasn't so much the sin, it was that two went down together. Did you realize that? Because Eve is of Adam, right? Now, who's to say, because we don't have this flipped, who's to say if he ate of the tree first, if Eve would have had to eat of it as well, or if Adam ate of the tree first, if Eve, um, you know, um, if until or if things automatically happen because Adam's the covering, whatever the case might be. But there was sin happening before the eating of the fruit. From whatever the vegetation was, you call it the tree of knowledge of good and evil, but we don't know for sure if it's a tree. The word that's used in Avda or in ancient Hebrew just means that we don't really know what it was. We know it was some kind of vegetation. Could have been a shrub, could have been a bush, could have been a vine, could have been a tree. We have no clue. Could have been a flower. Right? We don't know. We just know of whatever this vegetation is that they ate of it. The promise was is that they surely would lose their lives, right? And so there was a sinful thought process. There was a sinful conversation, but the conversation wasn't sinful at first because she said she went one above, right? She's a multiplier. Eve is a multiplier. Our sister's a multiplier. So she went to a point of saying, not only should we not touch it or eat of it, but eat of it rather, but we won't even touch it, right? And when the devil got her to stop thinking about it as something that is a violation, right, is a violation of Yah's will, and got her to start thinking it's a violation of free will. In other words, she started thinking, why would the Most High not want me to eat of anything that I want? Maybe it's because he doesn't want me to be like him. That was already the problem, right? In her mind, the very thing that Yah said, I've done this to protect you, became the very thing that she said, well, until I taste it for myself, who knows? Right? Do you not know that there's some things you don't need to experience in life? I tell that to my son all the time. Son, there's some things that if I have anything to say about it, you will never experience. Because there's certain things that you just don't need to partake in. Right? Trust me when I say, manual labor isn't really something that you want to do like that, right? Like not on the level that the world will have to where they're breaking your back. You very strong, right? You're very young. You could do this, that, or whatever, but you're not going to grow up doing those things. You're going to have nepotism in your life, right? I'm going to teach you how to be in your work, and you're going to work diligently. You're going to be a great husband. You're going to be a great father. You're going to be a great man, right? But there are certain things that you don't need to ever experience, son. You don't have to experience what it is to be sitting up there fiending for medication that they give you over the counter. You're never going to have to experience that. I know there have been a lot of people who've experienced it. You never will. It's not something for you, right? There are certain things you don't have to experience, but all it takes, if I'm not careful, all it takes is somebody to be able to start saying, hey, why is it that your father wouldn't introduce you to that? What is he withholding from you? See, something that's slight takes you from a place of it's Yah's will. And now all of a sudden, is Yah violating my free will? No, he gives you got a right to try it at some point. But there's a reason why I have law. There's a reason why I have natural law. There's a reason why I have specific things to tell you what's going on. Amen, brother TJ. Yeah, they say manual labor builds character. Put some hair on your chest, blah, blah. I mean, no, I probably would have had hair on my chest either way. You know what you know what I'm saying? I'll take my chances. Yeah, she opened herself to reasoning out of the will of Yah. Yeah. Right. And that's the dangerous part is people be thinking to themselves, free will, free will, free will. Yes, you have free will, but free will can be just like anything, something that you can eat that's righteous. If you eat it in the wrong way or you eat it from the wrong mindset, or you have too much of certain things to eat, it's the same thing that'll heal you can be the very thing that takes you out. See, be careful. Yahashua said in Matthew chapter 26, verse 39, right? If we went to the right place, right? Matthew chapter 26 and verse 39, amen. Yeah, he was in a place where he was asking for the cup to be taken from him because he took the cup seriously. And the dangerous thing about the cup is that when you look at the cup, you don't even have you ever thought about if somebody were to offer you something to drink and you didn't check the cup before they poured it, you just drank whatever somebody poured you. This happens quite often, and I'm not saying that you should never trust anybody on that level. I don't want you to feel like you got to pour everything in your life. But have you ever thought about the fact that a lot of times we ask people to pour into us, and they pour certain things, and we don't read into the cup. You might be worried about what the stuff tastes like, what's being poured into the cup. But what about the cup itself, right? What if the cup itself can only contain things that are poisonous? It's been designed to carry poison. Now, sin wasn't designed by the Most High, but the devil did everything in his power to do what? To get us to have our design be corrupted. And at the bottom of your cup, could you imagine drinking a whole entire cup of something? Then at the bottom of your cup, it says, you've been poisoned. Now, that message, you've been poisoned, had to be written in before you drank. Right? It had to be written on the bottom of the cup, which means that somebody intended to have you drink from a cup that they knew they were going to fill with something that would poison you. Can you imagine that? It happens quite often that you'll drink from cups that where if you pay attention to it, you can tell that this container, this thought process, this mindset, this environment is something that offs our people, that takes them out, that poisons the mind, that poisons the heart, that poisons the peculiar values that you once had, and says that you won't be living the peculiarity, but you'll live in making sure that you fit into this or that. How many people are poisoned before they go to school and they know this is what I'm going to do for a living? They know this is how many people I'm going to help. They know this is what I'm going to do to bless people. They know this is how I'm going to travel the world. They know. But all it takes is a cup specifically put there with poison. I mean, we're living in one of it today. We discussed it earlier today. We're living in a cup now. It's called Thanksgiving. which we know was created to be a distraction. We know it has no purpose in our lives. We know that it's not helping anybody, but a lot of people are making sure that they're saying that we give thanks to the Most High when the Most High would not have been sitting there saying, be thankful for offering Negroes, for offering natives, for coming together and having somebody who hated who he was in Abraham Lincoln and making sure that he helped to do one of the most diabolical things ever, which is to come up with that 13th Amendment and trick everybody into saying that slavery was over with and using it at the same time to be able to just throw a bunch of people into prison. But we say, bless the Lord. He's high and lifted up. We're thankful for Thanksgiving, even though the word Thanksgiving means to fast. Right? But if you pay attention to the cup, you would find out that the cup is designed to be poison, to carry poison. Matter of fact, if you got a cup that you're only filling with poison, you're probably going to separate it from the other cups. Right? If you pay attention, right? If there's certain types of cups that you know that you only put poison in, then you probably separate them from the other cups that you would use. And you're definitely going to separate it from drinking out of it yourself. Is it not interesting that when it comes to the cup that's full of poison, a lot of people will have you something and say, "Hey, drink this thing sacrificed to idols. Drink this thing that causes confusion in your life. Don't say nothing about my marriage, but go ahead and drink this stuff. I'm about to tell you that your husband is bad and your wife is bad, but don't say nothing about my marriage. I'm gonna tell you what it is to go ahead and live this life and have, you need to have multiple girls and stuff like that or whatever. But you know, but don't tell me about my stuff. I'm staying faithful to mine. I mean, people have a weird fascination with getting you to be involved with certain things that they themselves would not even do. It used to be problematic when people would do that because at least have a life that dictates, that mandates that I would have to focus in and hone in and magnify what it is that you're saying by looking at it in your life, because your life should be the example. How you doing, Queen Carolyn? Right? Your life should be the example. So let your light shine before men. You say that you are a follower of the way, then that means that you should have some light upon your feet, right? For your word is a light. You are a city set on a hill. You are the light. What sense does it make to be able to put your stuff underneath a bushel? But while you're busy telling me to stand out, I can't find you doing these righteous works anywhere. We got a problem. These vessels are poisoned. It's a shame that the pastor is the one that you have to be afraid of him being faithful to his wife. Are you not the light? But we don't trust him. And I'm not, and I can't even be mad at it. I can't even be mad at it because you've been yeah, watch this. Anybody ever seen, this is a very obscure musty reference. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Anybody ever seen um Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade? That'd be the third Indiana Jones movie. What we thought at one point would be the last Indiana Jones movie. Now they done had two more. And they try to have all the new ones with the girl in place of, Indiana Jones. But anybody ever seen that, the Third Crusade, or the third Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and it had Sean Connery playing his father. And there's a scene in there towards the end, right, where his father has been, uh, I don't remember if stabbed or shot in the stomach, something like that, and his father's, slowly fading, and his father can't go with him into the place that they have to go to be able to get. They said they actually tell the truth about the no letter J's in Hebrew and stuff in that scene. A lot of stuff that people look at as crazy and stuff like that. They actually tell the truth. Okay, he was shot. Okay, thank you. So, and they had that whole scene. He's got to jump on his name. He accidentally almost falls because he steps on the letter J, and he's like, wait a minute, there's no letter J in Hebrew. And so he actually like steps on some stuff, which is still kind of messed up the way they do it. But there's at least they on a better path than what many are, right? And they get to the part where they finally get to these cups that supposedly everybody's been looking for, this chalice, right? And these Knights Templars or whatever, they have created a space where they have all these fake chalices or these fake cups. And now none of this is, by the way, this is just a movie. All right. I'm just saying something to give you context. It's for educational purposes only. Please don't be out here talking about, yeah, because I read blah, blah. This is not a real thing where we're supposed to be looking for the cup or the chalice that Yahashua HaMashiach drink out of. That's not a thing. Okay. How you doing, Brother Vincent? But there's a scene where they're trying to drink of the cup at the end. And the first thing that they're looking for a cup, and they don't know which one to do. There's all these cups laid out. And so um Jesus, because that's who they're dealing with. They're not dealing with the Messiah, they're dealing with Jesus, right? And so they find this cup with jewels and stuff like that. And basically, the Nazi, both of them are Nazis. The girl who's like his girlfriend, who ends up being a bad person at the end and losing her life anyways, and the guy who's like her boss, he gets tricked by Indiana Jones into drinking the cup that had all the jewels and everything on it. Because in his mind, right, and in most people's mind, what would you think? Well, if he's a king, if he's the man, if he's going to heaven, all these different things, right? If shiny, right, then let me just go ahead and get the one with all those jewels. And then, of course, he drinks it, and I can't remember. He doesn't. No, he turns old, right? He turns old right in front of him or something like that. I hope I'm not confusing my movies together, right? Because in the first Indiana Jones, they all melted, right? When they took the arc off, and then the second one is when they basically is when he started doing the weird racist rant or whatever in the language or whatever, Kalima and all that stuff. And then the third one is when the guy turns old real fast, right? Okay. Excuse me. So they go through all that stuff, and then he says, yeah, Jesus is a carpenter. And so they look for a wooden cup. Now, we have no reason to even know or believe that they had to drink out of wooden cups, right? We don't know. More than likely, they probably would have, especially for something like Pasach or Passover, probably would have had, glass. They wouldn't have had plastic. That wasn't a thing. They probably would have had glass. Wood would probably not be something that the average person is necessarily eating or drinking out of that regularly, right? So probably would have just had glass. But regardless, in the movie, they're dealing with wooden cups or whatever. It's talking about his humility, or what at least a carpenter would have fashioned his own cup. Is what they're trying to talk about with their point. How you doing, Sister Latoya? I think I saw you on there. So, or ceramic pottery, sure, right? So, and they would have had bowls and stuff too that they would have dipped their hands in. So you probably would have had the bowls for that. Who knows if the cups are the same? Whatever. We don't know. Is my point, right? Long story short, we don't really know. But what they're trying to get across to you is that be careful what you're assuming about somebody, because in your mind, you're not even looking at who the person is, right? So be careful what's being offered to you. Just because there's a cup that's being offered to you that's gaudy, right, doesn't mean that that's what somebody would have gotten out of. It's not even about being humble at that point. It's about knowing something about the person who you're getting ready to drink after. Right? If I offer you a cup and the cup is full of sin, how do you know if it's sin? You got to know what sin is, right? And you got to see, do I drink from it? See, that's one of the things in that whole scene. Like in my mind, I go, even my young mind back then when I first saw it, I'm like, he never even drank from it. Why would you drink from it? Right? He never drank of it. The guy just in his mind, that's got to be it. That's the one, because in his mind, the way that man thinks, this is what man would make. And he was absolutely right. Man made it. And then, of course, he's able to take it back and heal his father, who taught him everything that he knew, which means as much as him and his father are beefing through the movie, that means his father still taught him enough for him to make a righteous decision, right? Be aware when somebody's offering you these cups to drink. Some of these cups are just straight poison, right? How you doing, Trauma Shaman? Be careful. Some of these cups that these people are offering you are straight poison, right? If you won't drink out the cup, I'm not trying to drink out the cup. Once again, can you imagine that you did all that drinking and you got to the bottom of the cup and then you looked and you said, wait a minute, I've been poisoned. Somebody wrote it in before you drank, but because you never took time out to check the cup itself. See, what is the cup? What is it that you're using to hold this liquid? What is it that you're using to hold this knowledge? What is this doctrine, right? That you're using to, or what is this machinery? What is this community, so to speak? What is this environment that's being used to uphold this doctrine that you keep drinking out of, and then you keep being upset talking about why we keep dying, why we keep arguing, why can't we get along, why can't we do, like, who is this person that keeps putting this stuff out that they themselves don't drink? Who has it in your community to where you keep saying that men ain't nothing and women ain't nothing, while they won't say it about their own communities? They will not drink what you are drinking of. I mean, think about this now. Come on, right? Let's just make this practical. Let's not make this so mystical that it's not practical. You got all these people that are telling us all this bad stuff about us, right? But would never say it about themselves. And you have it in your mind that that's because they're better than you. No, is it something that they would never drink? They would never say, even as being as crazy as the system is. My wife and I, we talked about this when I became an adult. I was like, you know what? I never once caught this. I grew up, well, at least in high school, grew up in a pretty affluent neighborhood. I didn't grow up live in it, but I was always hanging out with people who had. I was the token. Long story short, and I would go to these places and do certain things and be involved with certain type of stuff that I'd never. My father wasn't poor by any stretch of the imagination. He just wasn't making what other people were making, right? And I was. Have my eyes open to a lot of different things, a lot of different experiences, a lot of different ways of seeing things. And I realized that in my community where I lived, um, a place where literally we had an apartment complex and we had this place called the Hill. And you didn't go down the hill. It was halfway through the apartment complex if you went down the hill. I went down the hill one time, really early in the rising. Don't know why I did. And went down there my first time, seeing the crack epidemic up close. Right. Even grew up in New York, all that stuff, whatever. Never really paid attention to it like that. But, was in high school and actually saw the stuff like, oh, like this is what this looks like. Right. But had that kind of situation, all that stuff, and saw our people and saw, mothers that were raising their children, mothers that were raising their sons. How you doing, Sister Michelle? Um, you had a hill too. Yeah, that was that we had the hill. But like it was like you saw all these different people, single mothers, this, that, all this other stuff, whatever. You heard all this about baby daddy drama and people making fun of the fact that their fathers weren't in the home and this, that, or whatever, right? And I never realized until I was an adult that there were more of us, including myself, that grew up with our fathers in our lives, not just knowing them, but actually having them in our houses. We grew up with our fathers in our homes, and I would hang out with all these people that were supposed to be better than us, and they didn't have fathers at all. They didn't have fathers at all, right? And in my mind, though, I never once, not because they never spoke ill about it, including the mothers. They couldn't stand the father. I never heard anybody talking about your father, blah blah. Now maybe he was. I only heard one time. It blew my mind. It was all the white children I would hang out with. There was this one white child, might have been a senior or junior at the time, but we were like freshmen or whatever, and came over his house, and he goes, something was mentioned about his father. He was like, that piece of trash, that mother effer, he's never here, blah blah, this and that. And I was like, it was like the first time I heard a white person talk about not having a father, and still never clicked with me. I hang out with quite a few white people who don't have fathers in their lives. But because in their community, they would never down their father. The mother would never, I'm not saying she never says anything negative, but what I'm saying is that that wasn't a thing that was normal. It was normalized in the community I grew up in, right? But when I went into other people's communities, they didn't speak ill like that of their fathers, right? Parents argue back and forth. You hear them arguing. But when they got in front of the children, got in front of us, everything was we were supposed to pretend that you didn't hear any of that because you didn't speak ill of the father, of the family. Right? You didn't hang out with your dad in their community, and your dad was going to be busy talking about, well, your mom ain't this and your mom ain't that and your mom ain't this. I mean, I'm not saying it never happens, but I'm saying as a rule of thumb, hanging out with the people that actually made money or hanging out with people who were of the other diasporas, that was something that was taboo. And I had code switched without even knowing that I had code switched. I would code switch as soon as I went to my community, even though I had a father. If somebody didn't have a father, it was like, oh yeah, that's just what's supposed to be. Even though I hung out with quite a few boys whose fathers were in their lives, right? I would say when I went over, the majority of people whose homes I went over, their fathers were in their lives. Period. I didn't really go over people's homes who didn't have fathers, not because it was a thing or choice. Literally, I grew up with a lot of people that had fathers in their lives, and usually he lived in the house. And if he didn't live in the house, it was very rare that somebody never knew their father. That was something that was actually rare in the neighborhood I was. I'm not saying that's everybody experienced. I'm just saying that was something that was very rare. But I grew up with this weird sense that that was a weaker dynamic than the people I hung out with and never saw some of their fathers at all. You see what I'm saying? There's a dynamic where we've been poisoned so much that we're drinking stuff, and that people who are offering us stuff to drink, they don't even drink it. Right? They're just now starting to copy off of of our ways of ignorance of ourselves that somebody taught us. And so now to be cool, they do this stuff in front of cameras and stuff. They do this stuff online. But for real, even when that girl who's on there who's talking bad about her husband, this, that, whatever, I promise you when she gets back home, she don't do that in front of the children. She don't do that in front of her husband. Because they know that's not great for your psyche. It's not great for your soul. It's not great for your nachavash. It is not taba. Right? It used to be something where I didn't find out that my grandfather was abusive. My father's father. I didn't find out he was abusive. I didn't find out, even though I saw him missing limbs when he passed away. He's the first person that I ever saw that was a dead body in my life. Um, he was missing limbs, all that stuff. Didn't really understand that he was diabetic. I didn't understand that he used to yell at people. I didn't understand that he dealt with a lot of stuff coming out the Korean War. I didn't comprehend a lot of different things about him at all because it was never anybody, including my grandmother's responsibility, who didn't even necessarily get along with him, but still loved him, took care of him to the end. And then a couple years after he passed, she passed. Right. But it was never anybody's responsibility to talk bad about him. Yeah, we drank the poison and didn't even pay attention that that it wasn't normal. Yeah. And by the way, see, here's one of the craziest things about poison when they put it into your cup. You know that not all poisons work right away. Right? They work right away, but not all poisons are designed that you would just pass away tomorrow. Right? Especially if somebody's not trying to really be blamed for it. Sometimes somebody will have you take a little drop today and a little drop tomorrow. And before you know it, you're getting these signs and these things, and nobody can really comprehend what's going on. And before you know it, it's too late. See, and we're celebrating because now they don't just straight up give you rat poison in a thing. We're celebrating because now they just put a little bit of rat poison in your tea. That's all it takes. And as long as we mix some other things together, and a lot of people don't drink tea like that anyways, they don't pay attention to what's natural anyways. You'll just go ahead and drink it. And if we put enough honey in there and lemon in there, right? And we make sure that it's got, nice type of Earl Grey that's nice and strong, and we've strained it and strained it and strained it to where it's really powerful and stuff. You won't even pay attention to the fact that, matter of fact, why would anybody know what arsenic tastes like? They just give it to you in small doses. I give you a little lie here. I give you a little lie there. I give you a little manipulation here, right? When you were born and you were a baby, hey, I didn't say anything about that or anything like that. I didn't have to say anything about your skin color. When you get laid down next to other babies, parents will already treat you a certain way. It's just a little thing, right? When you start to talk and walk and certain things like that, even before you can talk and walk, I start saying things like, "Oh, look at your little mahogany skin. I'm putting you in a class already. I got you." Just a little bit of poison. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't celebrate skin color at all. Because hey, we should love every part of a person. But all I gotta do is just drop a little something. Hey, when you start going to school and all of a sudden, oh, okay, I want to be this, I want to be that. Oh, well, why don't you try to be something else? I don't have to tell you it's because that, that's not your class. How you doing, Miracle? Right. It just takes a little bit of poison. Before you know it, you start doing certain things and or you start growing, right? And we start making fun of you growing a bosom as if we're not going to be attracted to you when we get to be in high school. But I make you feel insecure about it. And so now you feel like, you look, I believe in modesty, but you're not covering up because of modesty. You're covering up because people made you feel deficient about being a woman. And because you didn't comprehend that every little girl has a woman in her and every woman has a little girl, we should have protected the little girl so that when she becomes a woman, she's not sitting there running away from what she always should have been. How you doing, Sister Karen? See, all it takes is a little bit of poison. All it takes is a little bit of poison. You nappy head so and so, as if naps are a bad thing. Yeah, you know what's interesting? The very people who put that in your cup about your nappy head and all that stuff are the very people that actually give me more compliments. I get more compliments from them than I get from my own people who keep trying to tell me every excuse to cut off my power source. It's not my own true power source as far as the kingdom of heaven, but it's power source as far as a promise that I've made. And I'll get more compliments from them. The same people who say, I won't hire you for my corporation, but you know what? I'll hang out with you outside the corporation because you're free. The very people who would tell you you can't get a job if you have your own hair would be the very people who would look at me and before a lot of our people would say, they'd say, man, I really like your hair. The very people who would touch your hair, sister, is the very person that says you can't have that hair in this job, that job, whatever, whatever. But then would sit up there and make sure that they have a version of your hair. Samson has been always been something, yeah. Being around like minds reminds you of how pro culture is positive. Right. And I'm not trying to say our hair, everybody got to have the same hair. Y'all has made us with differences. What I'm just trying to tell you is hopefully you're seeing it just takes a little bit of poison in your cup. Thank you, Frank. What I'm trying to tell you is just it all it takes is a little bit of poison in your cup. How much poison? Just a little bit. Just a tiny bit, just a smidge. Doesn't take that much. You said, and it's like when others touch the cup meant for us, it still affects us. Then we want the cup again. Oh, yeah, that's a great point. Because they still won't drink of it. But now when somebody touches it, now all of a sudden you want the poison again. Right? Yehoshua knew the importance that the cup held. He knew that it was full of sin. He prayed and said, if it be your will, let this cup pass. It wasn't his will. It wasn't Yahweh's will. It wasn't Abba's will that Yehoshua would not drink from the cup. But it was Yahweh's will that Yehoshua would drink of the cup because it's not his will you would have to drink of the cup. Did you catch that? The cup is poison. Yehoshua drank of it so that you wouldn't have to. Right? And if we're not careful, we're gonna be on some Romeo Juliet type stuff. Trigger warning for some of you who, that might be too much for you to think about. But I'm just saying, be careful, right? Because Romeo, see, he never told us. See, Yehoshua, he's told us why. The tragedy, if you will, using Greek language, the tragedy of Romeo and Juliet is this: is that Romeo was faking. Hold on. No, Juliet was faking. Excuse me. I had it reversed in my mind. Juliet was faking like she was poisoned to try and get away from family, but she never told Romeo, right? And Romeo, who first of all should have never been that enamored with somebody that he'd take his own life, but Romeo decided the only way he could be close to his beloved is if he went ahead and what? If he drank of the same type of thing or ended up, he didn't know he didn't know that she had whatever, but in his mind, let me poison myself so I can go ahead and not have to live without her. And the reality is that our husband, Yehoshua, has already told us, hey, I laid down my life, but I also picked it back up. And the Father helped me to pick it up, and the Holy Spirit helped me to pick it up. We know this because Romans 10:9 tells you that the Father raised him from the dead. Romans in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the Messiah tells you that he's going to lay down his life because he can pick it up. Romans chapter 8, verse 11 tells you the same Spirit, Ravak Hakodash, that raised Christ from the dead dwells within you. Yahshua has already told us that he drank of the cup so that you would not have to. The cup of sin is not something we have to partake in, right? There is no requirement for you to have to go through this. He said, and if you don't pay attention, you're passing the poison. It irks your soul to see locks that look, as they would say, perfect. Now you haven't twisted yours for 16 years. Hey, and it's to each their own on that, right? It's not my thing, but it's a particular promise that I made. That's why I grow up the way I do. How you doing, Silver Low Keith? So Yehoshua, he drank of the cup, right? Matthew 26, verse 39. He knew what was going to happen if he drank of it. He knew the importance of the cup. He knew that if he drank it, he was taking on something that would separate him from the Most High. And he would therefore, when he went to hell, guess what? And on his way while he was on the cross, he would have to see himself naked or without the covering of his Father for the very first time in his life. He knew what would happen, but he didn't drink it because he deserved it. He drank it because he knew what you deserved. You are his Juliet, right? I know Juliet's the one, sleep first. Romeo thinks she's passed away. Romeo decides to take the poison as he's on his way out. Then she wakes up, right? And says, you didn't leave me any sweet poison. And then she takes a dagger and she takes her life, right? I comprehend, and by the way, that whole thing, them being young, not having life together, stuff like that. There's a lot of problems with that story. I'm not trying to uplift that story. Let me just put that out there real quick. There's a lot of issues that we should see with that. It'd be like, y'all need to get yourselves together a little bit. There's some mental health stuff probably going on where you can't live with somebody that much. We need to figure this thing out. Right? How you doing, Black Love? Thanks for being part of the community. Right? I know it's very romanticized, but remember, we're not Romans. We're not romantic. You do things because when in Rome, you do what the Romans do, but I'm not Greco-Roman, so I don't uplift that type of stuff. Greek tragedies are not things that make me be like, I need to be like them. It's not my culture, and it's not yours either, for real, for real. That being said, though, in all this stuff, right, your Romeo, so to speak, Yehoshua, he said that I'll go ahead and drink the poison, and he said that when I lay down my life, I'll pick it back up. All you got to do is trust, right, that he can pick it back up, and he's already laid down his life for you. Right? All you have to do is pick it back up, or let him pick it back up. We're in a situation that's very different from everybody else's mindset as far as the culture and things like that. Right? You see what I'm saying? Like we have a responsibility. We have a thing here that we can do, right? And we can make sure that we are taken care of. Right? Matter of fact, we don't even have to make sure we're taken care of. We're taken care of, right? The cup is poison. Somebody drank of the cup. Once they drink of the cup, we can leave it alone. We can leave it shattered. We can leave it where it is. We know what cup he drank out of. It's not our responsibility to pick it back up. It's not our responsibility to see if we can test it out for ourselves. It's already been warned. Don't drink of this. This, in a sense, this cup. Hopefully, you guys are catching the context. I know somebody will be like, "I haven't found the scripture that." Hopefully, you get the context, the parable, even if you will. Right? In a sense, this cup has now become the tree that you don't have to touch nor taste of again. Right? Right? This tree Oh, okay. Yeah, don't worry about it. Silver low key. Thank you. We appreciate you. Right. Thank you. Um, I don't celebrate it at all, but I get what people mean. Think Thanksgiving actually is a time of fasting, but it is what it is, right? But if that's what y'all do, anybody, not just you, anybody does. Hey, you always be safe, and hopefully you're all right. We already talked about Thanksgiving earlier this rise, and I'm not even on that right now, so but appreciate you. Thank you. Right. So if if we're dealing with the cup has become, in a sense, it's become the new tree of Tabah, right? At bad or evil or being alone, even if you will, right? Being separated from the Most High has become the new tree of knowledge of good and evil, if you will, right? It's actually the very new thing that says we are not supposed to eat of this, to drink of this, to touch this, lest we shall surely pass away. And there's going to be now the devil's coming through and he's saying, hey, well, you know what? This cup, man, look, it's something to drink out. You don't even have any cups in the house, right? Well, I'd rather go and find another cup. I'd rather drink out of my hands. How you doing, Sister Helen? I'd rather go outside under the rain. I'd rather go if I got to pay somebody $1.50 or $2 for a cup, right? That I could, because I don't have a cup in my house, whatever the case is. If I have to go without drinking for a couple days until I get to a cup, whatever it is, I don't need this cup of sin. It's been drank of, and I recognize what it is. Matter of fact, I know it doesn't fulfill thirst. I know it makes you thirstier because remember, now Yahashua is on the tithe, or he's on what you call the cross later on. And how you doing, Dr. King Kirby, or King G Kirby? I'm not sure, right? But here he is later on the cross, right? And here he is later on the cross, and now his as he's on the cross or the tithe, right? What happens? He says, I thirst. And when he says, I thirst, they don't realize he's drinking of the cup of sin that he just talked about. Let this cup pass from me in the garden. So they give him some vinegar, right, on a sponge, and he drinks of it or whatever. Then they try to give him vinegar again later on, and he doesn't drink of it. Why? Because even though obviously the vinegar is something that they're using to get drunk and stuff as well, but he's not thirsting for physical things. He's not thirsting for the physical things. He's thirsting for the separation between him and his father. He knows that he's going to lose every drop of blood to the point to where when he finally is pierced in the side, right, after they would have broken his leg and pierced him in the side to make sure that he was, to help him make sure that he had passed away. Because believe it or not, people last on the cross a lot longer than what he was on. So they actually would break your leg and sometimes even pierce you in your side just to help you to bleed out faster and to help you to asphyxiate the weight of the broken leg. Like the reason why they pass away on the cross is because of asphyxiation. They choke, right? They're not just bleeding out, they choke, right? Yeah, you're bleeding out and stuff like that, but you actually choke because it's hard for you, especially when your hands are in a specific position. Whether you believe it was on his side, some of y'all still trying to fight that it was over his head, which actually would have probably made it easier for him to breathe. But his hands being on the side, nailed, feet being a certain position, and the position that he would have been in, by the way, he would have kept trying to get up to breathe. He was suffering. He was going through a lot for us. He's trying to every once in a while, right? And so that makes sure that he actually could, because they know his body would try to hang in there as long as possible. They would eventually come. They would break your leg so that you couldn't get up as much. You would have more weight on you to carry. And so when that happened, then they realized you'd be gone sooner. But he had given up the ghost before. Remember, he had to be a perfect sacrifice, right? If you give a sacrifice to the Most High, it always has to be perfect. You have to inspect it the inside and out. That's one of the reasons why Cain's sacrifice was messed up, not just because he didn't give an animal sacrifice, but also it was due to the fact that more than likely for those that believe that, okay, he could have given fruit or whatever, then either way, he didn't give his best, which is always the main thing with the sacrifice. Anything I give to the Most High, it should cost me something, or else it's not a sacrifice. A lot of people just give the Most High, they just throw him a little bit of time, right? But you got to give your best. See, even things that others don't do, people will say, man, just do the best you can, just do this and that or whatever. Sure, right. Do the best you can, give the best you can, right? These people, when they saying this stuff, look at how they drink, right? Who's your favorite motivational speaker? How many hours do you think they keep speaking? How many times have they spoken before you even knew who they were? How many things can you find on social media? How many books can you find? You got to give your best. See, a lot of people, even when you talk about tithes and offering, you guys don't catch it. Whether you talking about time, talent, effort, energy, or even yes, your resources, right? That's supposed to teach you how to start giving the first and the best, 10%. But the goal is for you to eventually have your whole life dedicated. How you doing, WIT? You hear what I'm saying? Right? Like you drunk from a poisonous cup. A lot of you come from a place to where they've just been saying, hey, our goal is to get you to at least give 10% of your time. But the reality is if you're gonna live together as a nation, that's gonna be 100% of your time. At some point, this thing's gonna have to take 100% of your heart. At some point, you're gonna have to forgive 100% of the things that somebody's done to you. How you doing, lovely lots? Thanks for being part of the community. Right. At some point, it's gonna have to go. 10 is supposed to get you to get to a place to where you start saying, okay, if I get 10 dresses, I don't mind making sure that the best dress that I have can go to somebody in the community. Bring the tithes into the storehouse that they might be meeting mine out. Could you imagine if people went out and they got clothes? You got 10 things of gloves from the Dollar Tree, and the ones that you like the best, you said, you know what, I'm gonna put that in the pot so that if somebody else needs gloves, they can mail them to them. Could you imagine if you made 10 meals in a row, right? And you made sure that you had leftovers at least from one of the meals because you knew once you got to the 10th meal, you want to make sure that you give that to somebody on the street. You're not even going to touch it. That's for somebody else. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine you do hair and you got 10 heads that you're going to do and you make sure that you have your stuff together, you got your tips and everything, but the first out of 10 or at least the best hairstyle that you do when you say, "Man, this one right here, this one I would love if somebody did my hair like that." You know what? Go ahead. This one's on the house. See, and the goal is eventually get to a place to where we're supporting each other like that, to the point to where we're supporting each other's businesses like that. We're supporting each other's dreams and visions and goals and missions and things like that, to the point to where we get to a place to where we can't live without blessing each other like that. Can I tell you, in all this time I've been sick and when I try to take vacation and do the stuff, the toughest thing for me about not serving or not being around, people just like, oh, you just feel like you got to talk. Not in so much that is that this is my gift. This is like the thing that I do. I could do this when I'm asleep. I've done this when nobody listened to me except trees. I've done this when nobody would when people would only believe that I was nothing as far as only had value as far as a musician. And that was it. They called me pastor. They called me whatever title that you want to give me, but they never actually let me speak. You see what I'm saying? Right? And that's the thing. So when I come in front of y'all and I have a chance to be able to bless my family, this is the best that I have. This is the best thing that I can give. This is better than money can buy because it's my best. Before you guys see me, I'm already up and prayed up and focused and studying and sewing and praying over my family while they're asleep and making sure that I'm kissing my wife and letting her know that I love her and stuff. I'm already sewing certain things. And then when you guys see me, I'm ready to give you guys the best of whatever I got left and emptied out. And that's why at the end, a lot of times it seems like I'm tired because I'm pouring out. I used to try and call people immediately right after I do live sessions. I can't even do it. I don't have the energy anymore because I pour out. I give you my best. I got to take about an hour after these live sessions, especially when I'm on 5 hours or so on a really long one on Sundays where we just go and go and go until, right? Like if I'm on for 4 or 5 hours, I can't even hang afterwards because this is harder work for me than workouts be for people. And this is a message every day. And I'm not trying to say, look at me, pat myself on the back. What I'm trying to tell you is that no, I give my best. I expect the best back because I give the best out. And if I give the best out to multiple people, if I've given out of my lifetime to millions of people my best, then if millions of people give back, even if it's views, right? Right? I don't have to. And I'm not trying to say I'm trying to give you guys the game, if you will. I'm trying to give you the kingdom for real. This is keys to the kingdom. You ready? I don't have to. I don't have to put out a video. I used to put out 50 videos in a day at one point. For real, for real. A lot of people check the record, check the original, the OG, if you will, the Kofi underscore for the original page. I used to put out like 30, 40, 50 videos and got views, which is crazy when I look back at it, because that's not how it's supposed to work. But we get views off of 30, 40, 50 videos in a day, and didn't have the diaspora really supporting me as much as other people were supporting me at first. Right. But I kept on going and I was pushing it. I'm talking about I was doing side hustle stuff at the time. I was trying to work 9 to 5 still. It didn't really work out or whatever, but I was trying to do all that. I was making sure I was transitioning where I was taking care of 100% of the financial responsibilities. Eventually, then when you would have thought, okay, just keep the side hustle thing going and doing what you're doing, decided I'm gonna walk all the way out on the Levite thing, stop doing the side hustle thing, doing all these things. But what I was doing was I was being consistent. I was in hashtag lion mode. I was making sure I finished strong. I was doing all that. Now it might be, it's very rare that I just do a video or just comment on somebody's question or whatever like that, because it's not something I have to do. Why? Because I've been sewing and I'm still, and I found out that the thing I do best, even though I love doing videos still, but I literally don't even have time for like a 1 minute video anymore. I don't even have time to like do a 10-minute video, put it up on YouTube, right? I don't have time. That's why we're having to change the way we do classes, because I don't even have time. If life happens, I can't even make up the classes the way that I need to, right? But one thing I've done is what? I've realized, what is my strength? Oh, my strength is, give me the mic, get out the way. Right? The very thing that actually, now hear what I'm saying, the cup that's poison. People got upset with me and they were telling me, even some of the people that I'm going to be serving soon at funerals and stuff like that, I'm gonna be going to and stuff like that. Even some of those people at one point, they were the ones who would tell me, we don't think that you're a pastor. We don't think that you're really a preacher. You talking about this, you talking about that, you don't fit in. You're too peculiar. You're not speaking the way that everybody else says is all right. You're not doing this, you're not doing that. And so a lot of those folk were the very ones that now, when they see me, it doesn't make sense. They in their mind, how could he be reaching the masses? In their mind, he's not worried about having a building for services. How is it that people are still being fed? Not just spiritually, by the way, but with food. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, give you a beat because that's your gift. But I realize what my gift is, right? Everything that I do, even when it comes to music, right? I'm still not so far removed that I don't play music at all. You guys can't see it on there you go. But even with that being said, like, I know that my gift is teaching. My main gift is teaching. Everywhere I go, everything I do is going to be involved with teaching in some way, right? Give me the mic and let me go teach. And I've been developing it over and over again. I was developing teaching when I was a little child, right? I was telling people how to know what directions to go in when I was a baby. Like when I was 4 or 5 years old, I could tell you how to get there, blah, blah. I was a teacher. Anything that I learned, I wanted to learn it to the fullest. And I wanted to learn it so well that I could teach somebody else how to do it. Right. I didn't comprehend that was my gift, but my mom was developing that in me earlier than I could really truly speak. She had me going to doors and learning from other people who I'm very appreciative, people that you would never even know of, a Lynn Singletary, somebody that taught me a lot of stuff about manhood. First of all, taught me that your name could be Lynn and you could still be a man, and come to find out that men named Lynn back in the day were the fiercest ones, right? You know what I'm saying? But a brother like Lynn Singletary, who you guys will never know, or Elder Walker, who worked for NASA, genius, right? And was the one saying, hey, do you know what womb there it is really means, and blah, blah, stuff like that I never, and look, love my father, but he was working 2.5 jobs. And I had other father figures that were around to be able to speak into me. A Kaufman family, where somebody was willing to let me into their home and was willing to say, hey, look at what happens with our children and blah, blah. And it's all right to have people that believe in the Most High like you and that are looking towards preaching and development and stuff like that, and having children around me named Micah and stuff like that, and it being all right to be around people who were like-minded. You know what I'm saying? These are people that were there, and they let me know you don't have to drink of certain cups. So now I've gotten to a place to where I realize that my cup runneth over, and the one that pours into it is somebody who set it up, right, in the presence of mine enemies. And as a last thing, I've actually gone a little longer than what I had planned on going, but we're gonna be obedient, right? But this the last thing though, at least as far as I know. Don't be upset when your cup is in an unexpected place, right? The cup that you might want to drink from, it seems to be one that you have access to. That might be the one that has the poison in it. But what if your cup of life is in a so-called poisonous place? What if the cup that's not full of poison is in a poisonous place? Psalm 23, verse 5, right? Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anoints my head with oil, my cup runneth over. He's pouring a cup that makes everything around you blessed. Everything that you're going to be drinking of from the Most High, everything around you is blessed. And here's the deal: everything around me is blessed, is getting wetted up and all that stuff. And that's awesome. That's amazing, right? It's in the presence of mine enemies. Some of you are running away from the cup that's not poison because you think that the people around, since you know the people around you would poison you, you're focused on them. But be focused on who's pouring. Did you catch that? People say all the time, Pastor Kofi, how do you know who to preach to, who to talk to, this and that, or whatever? Where am I sent? Where am I sent? Don't focus on who's around and if they might poison you. Yes, your enemy would poison you if they had the chance, but your enemy's not pouring the cup, right? Your enemy has been invited to the table to sit there and watch the Most High bless you. Is that not interesting that some of the people that were against you, the Most High will invite them around you, and they, without being able to do a thing about it, will have to watch you be poured into and watch you be poured into so much that those who are actually around you, those who are in your vicinity, right, they have to be blessed too. Those who walked with you when others wouldn't walk with you, now here come the people back who were talking trash about you, and they're watching you get poured into, and it really hurts. You hear what I'm saying? It really hurts. But your enemy's got to be invited. Don't run away. Your enemy's going to have to be invited. They're going to have to watch you, right? Your ex might have to watch you be loved. Isn't that something that hurts? And you might not even want that for your ex. Matter of fact, I don't want my ex around, blah, blah. The Most High might have it set up to where your ex is going to have to see you at the grocery store, be loved. Be all right with that. And thank you for the love. Appreciate it. Be all right with being blessed by your end. See, some of you don't recognize you. Some of you are going to have to be blessed with your enemy looking at you. See, you're afraid of the cup. See, we drink of the poisonous cup because it's easy surroundings. But the Most High says the people that would poison you, I want you to be blessed with them in your presence. I will bless you with the cup in the midst of your enemies. But don't focus on your enemies if whether or not they could poison you. Focus on whether I'm feeding you. Thus saith Yahweh. Right? Focus on who's pouring. Why are you worried about, well, if they were around, they'd poison me. I don't even want you in my vicinity. Don't focus on them. They're not pouring. If Yahweh is pouring into you, right? If his servant is pouring into you, then why you focus on everybody else? I ain't doing Minister Shante, right? All this, or what if somebody says, or what if somebody looks at me a bad way, or this and that, or whatever. Yah says I'm pouring. I didn't ask you about everybody. I'm pouring. I'm the one who's pouring. Focus on my pour. My pour is smooth. Focus on my pour. I don't drop a thing, and if it overflows, it's because I specifically wanted it to overflow. You hear what I'm saying? Focus on who's pouring. Stop focusing on who's around. Well, it's only a matter of time before so and so says something. Who cares? I didn't ask you about what they said. I told you I'm about to pour. Are you ready for this pour or not? See, when I pour into you, the poor will be fed. Right? When I pour into you, you'll lose a poor state of mind. Right? When I pour this on you, you'll have some news that's going to be vital. When I pour into you, your heart is going to be changed. When I pour into you, answers that you've been seeking will be given to you. But I never said that the answers will only be given to you as long as people that you like will be there. I told you that I would pour in the presence of your enemies. And you shouldn't want anything else, because I started off I sent my servant David to you, beloved to you, to be able to make sure that you remember that Yahweh is your shepherd. You shall not want, you shall not lack anything. I'll make you to lie down in green pastures, right? You thought because the pastures were green, your enemy wouldn't want to eat in green pastures either. See, I had to make you. I had to make it so. Your enemies, they might be able to get there. I had to make it to where they realize the only way you could have gotten there was if I put you there. I'll lead you beside the calm or the still waters. Your enemy knows where they are too. It doesn't mean that you're going to drink without your enemy. It just means that you ever seen a watering hole? And in the watering hole, and in whatever place in the world you want to talk about a watering hole, and you see all these animals that come around the watering hole, you see human beings that are coming around the watering hole. There's predators that show up at the watering hole. There's prey that shows up at the watering hole. There's older animals, there's younger animals, there's diseased animals, there's healthy animals, but they show up at the same place because the water is the water. They're showing up because they realize that the water source is clean. See, some of us are showing up and you're so worried about it, not realizing the water that he's pouring is clean. He had to make you to come here. You were trying to go everywhere else thinking that you were going to find a better source because your enemy wouldn't be there. No, I need you to go to the clean source. Even your enemy has enough sense to drink from what's clean. Even your enemy has enough sense to have a 501 or whatever you call it, a Fortune 500 company, and the Fortune 500 company has to tithe. Even your companies have enough sense to do that. But you talk about that it's difficult for you to give me what's mine. They give me what's mine. Because at least they comprehend they get a tax break. Here it is that you're going to get a break. You're not going to get a tax break. You're going to get something from me, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Shall men give unto your bosom, for the same measure that you meet shall it be given unto thee. But you don't want to show up where your enemies are. You don't want anybody to know where you are. Don't let anybody know where I'm staying. Don't let anybody this. Of course, you are sitting up here. I don't think you got it. We talked about this earlier already tonight in Matthew chapter 5, the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew chapter 5, verse 13 through 16. You are the salt of the earth, but you done lost your savor. Your savor is gone. You are the light. You are the city set on the hill. You are the light that's on the candle, but you keep covering it with a bushel and then talking about where's the blessing. I put you in a position to enlighten others. Do you not realize that Yah is ready? You know what? Thus saith Yahweh. Do you not realize that I have literally put you in a position to where everybody's going to have to watch you be blessed in order for them to see my manifestation, that they might start acting correctly? And you're waiting on the manifestation of the sons of Elohim. And here you are not allowing them to see you manifest. And you won't manifest because you keep waiting for it to be easy. I didn't make this thing for you to be easy. I'm trying to put your life on display. I'm trying to put your family on display. I'm not saying everybody got to know all your business. What I'm trying to say is you are hiding the very thing that I'm trying to show everybody else. And then sitting up there quoting my scripture, talking about, well, what sense does it make to put your candle under a bushel? Well, ask yourself that, because I've been waiting for you to put this gift that I've given you, the gift that makes room, on display so that you can have room made in your life. And yet here you are still not allowing anybody to see me move. Come on now. Come on, somebody. Talk back to me. You know I'm telling the truth. You know I'm telling the truth. I have sent you, thus saith Yahweh, I have made you the light, and you keep talking about, but I don't want my enemies to see it. Who else you think gonna see it? You ever heard keep your friends close and your enemies closer? Your enemies need to see that I have always loved you. That's Revelation chapter 3, verse 9. How your enemy gonna get saved? You say you love your enemy, fine. How they gonna get saved if they don't see you? Oh, I know you don't like that. See, you say you wouldn't wish stuff on your worst enemy, but you won't tell them the truth about the Most High. Let your light so shine even before your enemy. I know this is tough. I know it's tough. It's tight, but it's right. Let your ex see, and then when your ex try to come back, say, look, this wasn't done for you. But I'm glad that you've gotten the light shined on you that you might see. Whoever you see next, make sure you treat them with respect. You've abused me enough. You've abnormally used me enough. That's what abuse is, abnormal usage. You've abused me enough. But the one who comes next, make sure that you love them the way that Yahushua loved the assembly. The one that comes next, make sure you submit to their mission. You don't have to submit to the man, but submit to the mission, because their mission is to be on point for the Most High. Oh, you don't want to hear this. See, this is the type of love that you're not ready for. The type of love that says you talk bad about my children, but you'll watch my children be blessed in front of your face. Paul was an enemy of the state. He was an enemy of the kingdom. You can't tell me any different. You can't deny the charges. Paul, he wouldn't deny the charges himself. We were scared of Paul. When Paul got saved, the person he was sent to was like, Yahshua, I don't think this is the one, right? He was an enemy of the state, and he had to prove himself. But he had to come into knowledge, and then the very people that those of us who he would have taken our lives, who he was our brother and would have taken our lives. came to us so that we would verify him. Go look in your scripture. John had to verify him. John lived in Ephesus before Paul was even talking about Ephesus. They had to verify him. They had to say, okay, he's all right. The very person that would have tried to take their life. Thank you for the love. Appreciate it. Right? You got to realize your enemy not only will become, y'all only excited about them becoming your footstool, right? But what about if your enemy gets saved and he becomes your brother? I know it's tough. Man up. It's tough. Woman up. What if that becomes your sister? I'm not saying you just open the door, you be a doormat, this and that. No, what I'm saying is you might have to love on a level you're not ready for. And you might have to start looking for change, right? If until I see the change, I'm not going to make certain moves. I'm not going to remove certain hedges of protection for sure. I'm going to keep certain boundaries up. But when I start seeing a change, I need to be ready, right? There used to be that song. I don't know if I can sing tonight or not, but that song, a wonderful change has come over me. A wonderful change. Y'all remember that song? I don't have no voice tonight, but you know what I'm saying? Y'all remember that song back in the day, right? We're looking for the change. They even used to say, change. I'm so glad he changed me, right? You're not looking for change. You talking about you $1, but you don't make no sense because can't nobody make change. You hear what I'm saying? You have been bought with a price. You don't belong to yourself. You are not on the cross. You're not carrying your cross for you. You're not on the cross just for you. This is for somebody else to see you. And if your haters are the ones that spend the most time looking at your life, who you think's going to see that you get blessed first? See, some of you think that your wife or your husband going to see it first, and hopefully they will. But your haters pay more attention to you sometimes than your own spouse. And some of y'all are so busy looking at every single thing they had to do. Fine, put your life on display so that your haters see it. What's the best way you can show people if you really want? Because some of y'all act like you don't. Let's be honest. Some of y'all want some kind. And by the way, the Most High should be the person that's there, and others around you should see. But we keep forgetting this is not just for you. People need to see this. People need to grow in this. People need to know that, man, if you can do this, I can do this. If you can make it through this sickness, I can make it through this sickness. You couldn't talk, but now you can talk. Maybe I'll be able to talk. You were afraid. Maybe I will lose. Maybe I'll lose my being afraid. People who telling you not to change, or at least not to change when anybody can see you, that's a poisonous cup. That's a poisonous cup, right? And hopefully y'all know by now, I don't pour out poison. I don't need to pour out poison. I pour out pure, unadulterated. Watch this. If somebody's in the kingdom of darkness, when I pour out pure, unadulterated amat, truth, then guess what? That's poison to the enemy. But if the enemy ever wants to get it right, it'll taste like it's supposed to them too. Right? If the enemy ever wants to get it right, the thing that they thought was going to get them drunk, right? When I turn that water into wine, the wine will be so great that it will take them out of their drunken stupor, and they'll say, wow, this is the better wine than what we had before. Right? You don't have to drink from the poisonous cup anymore. You don't have to drink of the poisonous cup anymore. You don't have to. Those days are over. You hear what I'm saying? Say it with me. Those days are over. Say it with me. Those days are over. Say it with me. I do not have to drink from a poisonous cup ever again. Those days are over. I do not have to drink from a poisonous cup any longer. Those days are over. I do not have to drink from a poisonous cup any longer. Those days are over. Right? Let's just say I'm feeling it in my shoulder. Let's just say it a couple more times. I'm done. I do not have to drink from a poisonous cup any longer. Those days are over. I do not have to drink from a poisonous cup any longer. Those days are over. Yah's removed the poison from your life. Some of you are so, man, I wish I could go back. I wish I could go back to this place. I wish I could talk. I do not have to drink of a poisonous cup any longer. Those days are over. I am far removed from having to live by poison. I'd rather fast than take a little bit of poison here or there. I'm far removed from having somebody lie to me and tell me that fruit has no seed, right? I'm far removed from those days. Pick up your cross and walk, right? Purity sometimes hurts. Fasting sometimes hurts. Honoring your parents sometimes hurts. Mm, I felt that one. Somebody need to hear that one, right? Loving yourself for the first time sometimes hurt. Here, anybody who's ever fasted, I swear, I'm trying to finish. I feel like that preacher. I'm going to close. I'm trying to close. I'm trying to close. I really am, though. Real talk. Watch this. Watch this. Holy Spirit, help me. I'm trying. I really trying for real. For real. I apologize. If y'all need to go somewhere, thank you for being on. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Look. And we got Q&A tomorrow, by the way. Look. Whew. Okay. Some of you have fasted from the wrong thing. You have fasted from yourself. Come on, somebody. You have fasted from yourself. Some of you have fasted from yourself for so long that now you're eating of something that's for you for the first time. And you know when you fasted for a really long time and you eat for the first time, your body has to turn back on. And so it's an almost orgasmic experience eating for the first time in a really long time. However, also too, something that they don't tell you is it kind of hurts. Your body designed to eat, but when you haven't ate in a really long time, you're only really going to eat something that's necessary, and you can't eat as much as what you think you can eat, right? So it begins to hurt to do what you're designed to do. Somebody been fasting, you drunk from the poison that says that you should be something different than who you were created and called to be. And so now here you are eating of something that's not poisonous, eating of what the Most High said you should have always ate of, loving yourself correctly, giving yourself time, giving yourself prayer, having a real community that really cares about you and stuff. And it hurts. You never really talk to people like this. You just stay to yourself. You're not the type of person to open your mouth. Now you call people and talk to them on a regular basis. Your children are talking to people that they've never talked to before. You don't let nobody around your children, but now here your children are actually being seen and talking to people and being comfortable and different things like that. Here it is that you're learning and growing in certain areas or whatever. Here you are learning about food in a manner you've never learned before. Here you are visiting, some of you going hours out of your way to be able to visit somebody who you've never met for the first time so you can hug on them and realize that if I feel like I've known this person, something in my eternal soul and spirit feels like they've known this person I'm seeing in the temporary flesh since before the foundations of this earth. But it's going to hurt a little bit. You're very ecstatic at first, but then there's a pain that happens. It's something that is trying to turn on. You haven't really used this stomach. It's like that Matrix scene. Y'all remember when Neo comes out of the Matrix and they have him and they're doing all the stuff and they're doing acupuncture and all the stuff like that. And they're trying to get his muscles and things working. And he says, my eyes. This is my eyes. My eyes hurt. Why do they hurt? And Morpheus says, he looks at somebody because he's trying to figure out if you should tell him or not. He looks and he's like, because you never used them. Right? It hurts when you've had eyes, but you haven't been able to see. And now you're seeing for the first time. It hurts. But you'll get used to it, but it's gonna hurt seeing stuff like this. It hurts having a heart and nobody protected it, nobody really fed it, nobody really loved it. And now all of a sudden you're talking to somebody for the first time that's feeding your heart. You've been in friendships and relationships and churches and excuse me, and camps and all this stuff. You've watched all these different motivational speakers And now you're finding something that speaks to who you are. And for the first time, and you're starting to feel, and it feel elated at first, but then it hurts because you're like, oh, I've never dealt with this stuff. Like, it's okay for me. And thank y'all for the love, appreciate it. It's all right for me to feel like this. It's all right for me to cry like this. It's all right for me to love myself like this. It's all right for me to pour into others like this. It's all right for me to say that I'm valuable like this. It's all right for, yeah, it's all right. It's more than all right. It's love. You never experienced it like this. I tell y'all this all the time. I've been in all these places, traveled all around the world, went to all these edifices, had all these titles, played all this music, preached all these sermons and stuff. And for the first time in my life, when my family goes through, I don't even have to do it that often, but all I have to do is say, you know what, we could really use some help. And somehow, some way, you guys will travel, you guys will look after other people for us, you'll take care of our families' needs and stuff. It's wow. I've never been around people who that just we'll talk about we need stuff. We're looking at land, we're looking at this, we're looking at that, we're looking at doing this, we're looking at meeting up next year. We need people to help with this. And people are sitting up there saying, Kofi, we've been waiting for you to say something. Come on, I'm first in line. Let's go. Right? And I was ecstatic at it about it. And you know what? I went to a place where it started to hurt because I started saying, what was I a part of for all these decades? Where for the first time in my life, somebody who I've never met in person would make sure that my community is fed. Like, I've never met some of these people in person. Some of you never met some of the people that need help in person. And yet I'm finding out that you guys are making sure that families are staying afloat. You're reaching out and praying for one another, right? You talking to brothers and saying we need to make sure that we got text strains. People are getting on WhatsApp. People are getting on Patreon. People getting on TikTok. People getting whatever. People are getting in DMs. People, and they're not. I won't say nobody's not being abusive, but for the most part, people are not. Treating people disrespectfully. I had to say to myself, what was I a part of for all these years? Where this is stuff that I've been waiting for. And I was seeing people physically, and I've been in the biggest of churches. I've been in the smallest, but I preached in front of thousands at a time. I preached in front of two people. Really, sometimes I preached in front of nobody who showed up. It was me and the angels. And we had service by ourselves and recorded it so that other people would be able to see it later. Right? And yet I never experienced like love like this. Never experienced brothers that are just like that literally don't hesitate. I love you. You know how long I was waiting for that in my personal life? Never grew up with I love yous. Never had an older brother who just said straight up, I love you. And finally get that on a regular basis. Like I get fed in that manner. Right? You see what I'm saying? Like I love this. I need this. I don't just crave it. It's part of something I was looking for since before the foundations of the world. It used to be strange to me when people would say about me, and they say about my wife as well, you're a spiritual parent. And then I come to find out that people don't get something as simple as I love you, or somebody that's willing to like dedicate their time and effort towards helping them to feel better. Right. And it made me feel elated, but then I also realized once again, it kind of hurts. I'm just cheering. I just wanted to, I felt led to put that out there on somebody's plate and let you eat that and sop that up tonight because that's a little, that's the last part of the courses, I guess, that's the last course, if you will. But I wanted to make sure somebody recognized that because there's going to be some stuff that's happening in your life, and Yah's doing some stuff, and a lot of you are afraid of that. What about if it hurts? I'm here to tell you that's going to be part. If that makes sense the way I say it, I hope it did. It's going to hurt a little bit. You're going to say like, what in the world was I doing out here? And we have to take. Then and what we don't like is we got to take accountability. Were you really supposed to be where you were? Did Yah really tell you to do that? Did you even know Yahweh's name? Did you know Badashat? Did you know what Elohim was versus God? Did you know there's a big difference between Yahshua and Jesus? And you will realize, what was I part of? What was I part of? Was it worthy of the Most High? It's going to hurt a little bit. One of the things that a lot of us deal with when we learn truth is a lot of us, if we're not careful, we become very hateful because we become very angry because it hurts when we find out like how much fallacy we've lived in. But keep pushing. Don't allow the fallacy and the anger to poison your cup. He didn't bring you a clean cup. He didn't put you in this position for you to just go right back into being just like the world and being angry and being hurtful. And now you smile less than you ever did, and you forgetting who the Most High really is in your life. Stay strong. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. Can I tell you one of the things? That's why it's called chastisement. The chastisement of his peace was upon us. Yahshua said he chastises those, he disciplines those, he chastens those who he loves. It hurts. It hurts. You mean I'm being righteous and I got to go through this and people are making fun of me and I'm losing this and I ain't got no money coming in and I can't even, listen to these guys because I know they don't really mean nothing or whatever. But here I am and I'm struggling. I can't really listen to these girls, but I really need somebody who would show me love and this and that or whatever. And I can't. No, you absolutely cannot. It's gonna hurt. But when you know your value, you can't just lay down for anybody. When you know your value, you can't just work anywhere. Matter of fact, when you know your value, you realize that you're unemployable. You get to a point to where you can't even have no 9 to 5. Hang in there. If it hasn't already started hurting, it's going to hurt. That's part of the process. Hang in there. When Yah heals you, he didn't heal you for you to be able to say, hey, I'm healed just enough. He healed you so that you would be able to be pure and to be holy and to stay healthy, even when you run into situations again. See, the difference between the whole person, right, who's been healed, the difference between the whole person and the person who is kind of sort of all right is that the person who's kind of sort of all right, let disease hit them. It's going to hit you really, really hard. You might almost lose your life, right? The person who's whole and holy and healed and whose alkaline levels are there, you might get a little bit of sickness, but it can't remain in your body because you're whole, because you're healed. Being healed, right, doesn't mean that you can never be sick again. Being healed means that if something takes 20% out your body, 100% to 20%, you still at 80. There's a lot of people, you at 25 and you get hit with 20%, 5% feel a lot different than 80, doesn't it? Yah is trying to get you holy, and you need to constantly try to remain in whole, because somebody's always trying to take a pound of flesh, if you will. Somebody's trying to get that 20% sickness on you. Somebody's trying to get you to be less than. You better make sure that you're at a higher level. Anyways, I thank y'all. Appreciate you. I have nothing else to pour out. Prayerfully, those around have been blessed. Amen. Amen. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you guys again. We appreciate you. Don't forget your affirmations. Romans 8:1, Romans 8:11, Romans 8:18, Romans 8:19, Romans 8:28. I'll talk to you guys very soon. Those of you who didn't call today, I'll try to reach out to you tomorrow. I'm not trying to be rude, but I might have to try and shorten calls. I know for some of you, I don't get a chance to talk to you as much as I used to. I'm just trying to reach out to everybody this weekend, everybody I can. I'm going off literally just off of context and off of memory. So I'll try my best to reach out in some way, shape, or form. If I can't call everybody, at least try to send out a text this weekend. I know we don't celebrate Thanksgiving. We don't celebrate Christmas, but during this time, a lot of people get lonely. So I'm just trying to make sure I check in on you guys, make sure that you guys are all right, and let you know that we love you and we appreciate you. We thank you guys again. Tomorrow is Q&A. So 8 a.m. Eastern New York time, Q&A. Matter of fact, what we'll do is tomorrow in the AM and the PM, it'll just be straight Q&A. So you guys feel free to join us. And then Saturday will be Q&A as well. And then Saturday for our Shabbat service, we will have our very own Minister Tamara on to give us a word for that Saturday. And don't forget, Saturday at 7:00 p.m. Eastern New York time, it's going to be the women's meeting at 7 p.m. Eastern New York time. So I appreciate y'all. Mad love to each and every one of you, or great love towards each and every one of you. I appreciate you. hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your day. If you are off this weekend, hopefully you enjoy your time off this weekend. We appreciate you. I'm feeling pretty great. So unless something crazy happens, I will definitely see you guys in the AM. Continue to take care of each other. We give our honor and praise to the Most High. We give our praise and honor to Him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life disabled to be honored. Check her out as always on TikTok, YouTube, or website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A-N-D, the letter N. Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. We thank you guys again. We appreciate you. Q&A tomorrow. So if you got questions, comments, concerns, even if you want to put them in the chat on Patreon members, don't forget, you got access to a chat on there. So you could literally just throw some stuff out there on the chat and I could see it. And, we might start off with those questions. So, but we thank you. We appreciate you. We honor you. And we'll talk to you guys soon. I'll try to start off with the person who gave the question earlier today. Keep my promise, even though the person was probably trolling. But still, we'll make sure we put that in there to start tomorrow. And like I said, if you guys have Q&A, anything like that, feel free to send it or just make sure that you're ready for it tomorrow. I will try, as a matter of fact. We'll even try. Matter of fact, we will. I'll have to remember it. So somebody might have to remind me, and we might have to restart the live if I'm not careful on TikTok tomorrow. But somebody try to remind me. I will do my best to start right at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. If somebody can remind me when we first start, in case I need to restart the live real quick, if somebody can remind me in the rising to take phone calls, okay? And then that way, what I will do is I will set it up on one of our devices. I will set it up where we can take phone calls and answer the phone calls, okay? So, and when you take phone calls in, it'll be, if you guys have the 202-599-7312 number, that'll be the same number we'll be using. I'll put it up tomorrow for us, but we'll answer phone calls and stuff tomorrow. We'll do our best to, and we'll make sure that we have it set up on the devices where you guys can just call right in, okay? So hopefully that'll work out for you. We look forward to talking to you guys and seeing you guys tomorrow. So that'll help out. So if somebody's like, hey, I don't want to type in or this and that or whatever, you'll be able to just call right in tomorrow. And we should be able to answer your question. So thank you. Appreciate you. And we will talk to you guys ASAP. So thank you again. We appreciate you. Take care. And remember, as always, that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you're fearfully, wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, family. Shalom. Peace.